Hello students, with this episode I'm going to go over inking. We discussed inking in class already. You've worked on a couple assignments where you were doing some inking. But beforehand I want to mention a few things. One is you're working on your 4-page comic book story. Some of you have not sent me pencils of your 4-page comic book story. I need to look at your pencil work before I can approve any lettering. Once I approve your pencil pages, then you could go ahead and do your hand lettering. In the previous episode, I did discuss lettering, kind of going over lettering techniques that we had already discussed in class. Keep in mind that the 4-page comic book story, again, is due on April 20th. If you have not emailed me your pencil pages so far, then you're falling behind, and that's going to affect your final grade on the 4-page comic book story. You don't want to rush the lettering. You don't want to rush your inking, because when you do that, your work is going to look really, really sloppy. And the 4-page comic book story, again, is 40% of your final grade. When you're inking your own work, when you're inking your own pencils, it's not tracing. It's really drawing. If you do a lot of the drawing in your inking stage, I think that's great, and that's real drawing. I still like using the Pelican waterproof ink. It's nice and black. It's really great for inking, and also when you erase your pencils, the ink will actually stay darker after you erase your pencils. I still like using the Winsor Newton Series 7 Sable Brush. I went over that in class, as well as the Hunt 102 nib. When you add more pressure to those tools, you get like a heavier line. So those tools are great when you have to vary your line. Micron pens are fine, but you really often can't vary your line too much. There's a Micron brush pen, which is okay. But once you sort of master that, then you probably shouldn't have as much of a problem learning how to use a brush or a nib. It's always important to make sure that objects and people that are in the foreground have a heavier line, have more detail. Objects and people that are in the background tend to have less detail, less line work, and thinner lines. Use a brush when you're inking people, clothing, things that have a softer line to them. It's better to use a brush for those kinds of things, especially when you're inking in hair. If you're drawing things that have an edgier line, or things like buildings and cars and such, use a pen, or what I do is I use a Hunt 102 pen. Also, keep in mind that you can, in regards to showing shadow and your light source, you can always use hatching and cross hatching. So that's why it's very important to make sure you use the right tool when you're inking. I would always use a pen or a nib when I'm inking things like buildings and cars and such. So I like using the Hunt 102 nib. And also when you have straight lines, make sure you use a pen with a straight edge, or even if you have to draw something that has a curve to it, use a French curve. But it's always very important to draw things like this with a pen instead of a brush. So that's a little recap on comic book inking. Please continue to check your student email. In regards to the Chinese coronavirus situation, please continue to check the SUNY Orange website for any updates. I will continue to do these videos once or twice a week, so please stay tuned for that. If you have any questions on any of your assignments, please email me. And I think that's it. So God bless, grace and peace.